Still on Parashat Vayishlach, Yaakov, after the angel, Yaakov settling in Nablus. So we finished off with Yaakov, with Jacob struggling with the wrestling with the angel, and after overcoming this weird spiritual divine kind of battle, then dealing with Esav, his brother, is like nothing. Somehow all the thread just like melts away. The next morning he comes back to the camp, he meets Esav, and Esav says to him, "Whoa," like he hugs him, he kisses him, he says, "Who are all these people? What are all these gifts? I don't want them." You see, Yaakov insists and says, no, they're for you. And then eventually they each, and he introduces Esav to his wives, to his children, to his whole convoy, and Esav wants to do the same. Yaakov says, no, there's no need, and somehow they separate peacefully. That's how that whole episode melted away. But Yaakov continues to enter into the land of Israel, into the land of Canaan by then, and he gets to a place called Shechem. Shechem is what today we call Nablus. And there he buys a certain property. He sets his tent there and all his few tents and all his cattle and everything. He's a very rich man. And the mayor of Shechem in those days, of Nablus of those days, is someone called Hamor, who also has a son that is also very dynamic, very held in his high esteem, whose name is Shechem. So the city is called Shechem, and the son of the mayor is also called Shechem. What happens is, now that they're settled, so Yaakov's only daughter, Dina, she goes out to see, to mingle and to maybe see the women of the land and see maybe she can find some friends. She goes and she just roams around, and Shechem, the son of Hamor, the son of the mayor, sees her, and he grabs her, he takes her, and he sleeps with her, and basically he rapes her. But here what happens is kind of unusual for the mindset of rapists, because once he has done it, instead of going on or hating the person that he just raped, he falls himself falling in love with this woman, with Dina. Instead of regretting and being full of remorse or just it's as if he had a change of heart, and he speaks to her and he loves her, and he speaks to her and he tries to persuade her that he's actually a good person. It doesn't say exactly what he tells her, but it does say that he really tries to talk to her heart. And then he says to Hamor, his father, "I really want this child as a wife." So this is something that even those times is something that is not done. It's something wrong, something you do not do. Yaakov hears about it. His sons were shepherding the cattle and the sheep in the fields. He didn't say anything till they came in. And then Hamor, the father of Shechem, comes to Yaakov to speak to him. And this is the mayor coming to Yaakov, this new citizen of the city. And Bnei Yaakov, the other sons, also come and join in. And then they hear what happened, even though, of course, he probably didn't present the picture as it is. He said it he just was saying that his son Shechem really wants Dina as his wife. Where is Dina? Oh, she's already there, whatever. They understand what has happened. They, of course, become very, very upset. But this is the mayor of a whole city who has power. He probably came with armed men with him, so what are you going to do? Hamor, the mayor, he says to them, "Well, why don't we just settle this in a nice way? Give your consent. My son will marry Dina, and in a respectful way, in a respectable way, and you can marry us. You are all boys, you're all men. We have women. You can marry us. We can marry you, and you can settle in and be really part of us, and do business here, and we will really become one nation, and whatever you want." Shechem, the son, the rapist, he jumps up and he says he also came with his father. He jumps up and he says he doesn't want the opportunity to slip away. He says, "Whatever you say, I will give you." It's not only this, he's not even trying to bargain. Whatever you tell me, I will give you, as long as you give me your permission to have your sister or your son Yaakov as a wife. as a respectable wife. So here the sons of Yaakov, what they do is they understand the situation, and they know they are dealing with their feelings, they're struggling, but they're acting wisely. What they're saying is, they said that we cannot give you our sister because in our tradition we are different people and we have different beliefs, and they don't say out, they don't go all out. They just say it is a disgrace for us to give some people like you our sister. You can only marry us if you become one of us. And what we have that you don't, what we do is we have this mitzvah, we have this commandment, we have this tradition of circumcision. So if you accept, and all the men in your midst will also circumcise, and with that you will show us that you really do want to become one of us and follow our ways, then we can give you our daughters and you can have our sons, and we can take your daughters, and then we can be one people. But if you don't, then we'll just take our daughter, we'll take our sister, and we'll just leave. So Hamor and his son Shechem actually like this proposition. Maybe they thought they got away cheaply because they were already prepared to pay a lot of money or cattle or whatever it is, or even, I don't know, something else that anything that Yaakov and his sons would have asked, they would have really given in and gave. But so only to do something like circumcise, in comparison to what they were thinking they would have to give, I guess it wasn't such a big deal. And also they like the idea that this is going so smoothly, and it's not just about Dina, that these people, these rich people, they're going to be one of them. This way they're going to become even the people of Shechem will become even stronger, with more men, with more power, with more cattle, and they like the idea. And they didn't even wait. It says they did not even procrastinate or nothing, because Shechem was so eager to already marry Dina and become her husband, I guess, that he just went to the gate of the city and talked to all the men and told them about this new family that came, that family of Yaakov. This is such a good idea. Why don't we marry them? They consented to marry us, etc. And he told them this whole proposition. And indeed, he was probably very charismatic, and the men accepted it. Everybody was okay with this, and they had this one big event where they all circumcised. They just did it. They just went out and they just did it. Everyone thinking about all the cattle and all the sheep that will be added to their communal property. Once they did that, they had to, of course, revive themselves. It's painful. It's not like today when you have anesthesia, you have organic. And on the third day, which is probably the day that it hurt most, on that day, the two of the 12 brothers, specifically Shimon and Levi, brothers of Dina, they took their swords. They went into the city of Shechem, into the middle of the city where all the people were not in the outskirts. They went in, and they just started to kill all the men in that city. They got to the house of Hamor and Shechem. They killed them too. They found Dina, who was captive still in that house. They took her, and they just left. Not only that, the rest of the brothers joined them and looted the city and kind of revenged on everything that was there and anyone that was there, and the loot and everything. And they took even the statues. And with that, they felt that they revenged for what the people of Shechem, or specifically Hamor, really, what he did to their sister. He came back. This whole time, it sounds like Yaakov did not know this was happening. They came back home, and he saw them all coming with all this loot and everything, and perhaps also servants and more cattle. And he immediately understands. He said, "What have you done?" And it sounds like he doesn't really rebuke them. He understands what they have done. He understands where it came from. And his argument is not a moral argument, actually. What he says is, now, not all the towns around us are going to see us as a threat. They're going to revenge, and they're going to kill us all, because what you guys have done to the city of Shechem, which was just a normal city in our area, and we're just foreigners in this place. So while his argument is logical or is, let's say, practical, the answer that he gets from his sons is a moral one. They don't answer his logical argument. They don't say, well, maybe they will actually be afraid of us or anything like that. They just say, well, we can't leave it like this. Are we going to just leave this reality, the situation, as if our sister is going to be dealt with as if she's a harlot, as if she's a prostitute? And it's a rhetoric question. It just stays there in the air. And no answer, not from Yaakov or nothing else. The question itself is a cry out. Like, how can we not be protective? How can we not do? How can we let this situation just be? So what I've said till now is the facts, is the verses themselves, is what it says in the Chumash, in the Torah itself. How to see it, how to view it, what to get out of it, there's so many aspects, depends on the commentators and who you go by and what you feel in every generation and every every camp, every different people have different ways of seeing it. I'll just say that the fact that God himself, the next verses only tell us that God tells now Yaakov to pick up and go to Bethel, and he appears to him and he keeps on appearing to him, and there's not one word of rebuke, not from God or from anything after, perhaps tells us that this should not be seen in such a judgmental way. Now, if you say that, if anybody says that, well, maybe they should have just revenged and killed Hamor, maybe even his father as well, Shem, for raising such a child and protecting him instead of telling him, well, what have you done, and making things right, then the only thing maybe I could say is that, though, even on a practical level, it was impossible. It was impossible to go and kill the mayor, the son of the mayor, and that's it, and get away with it. What the rest of the people will kill them, and the fact that such a terrible action could have happened by this mayor's son, but in such a place, and no one cries out, and it's nothing, and just like that, and they even have the chutzpah, they have the nerve to suggest, to make business, and you see the greediness of the people of Shem, the fact that they are willing to circumcise themselves, cast away their beliefs or their traditions and join whatever this new family comes in, without really hearing the arguments or the emes, the truth of this new tradition and the family that comes with their new God, just for gaining more cattle, more sheep, and having such, and again, a rapist like that just do whatever he does without anyone crying out. Perhaps that shows that the corruptness was deeper than just this certain person, Shem, and his father. It was the fact that they listened to him, did whatever he did whatever he asked for, and no one blinked an eye. Then they didn't have the means of today of bringing them, I don't know, to some kind of supreme court. Justice was done by people in a different way than it's done today. And just by what they did or what they did not do shows their corruptness and the way that they were warped. And the fact that God let it happen and did not stop the brothers and also did not rebuke them afterwards shows that perhaps this was what was supposed to be. This was what they had. They got what they had to get. Of course, this doesn't tell us that we should follow such an action today. It's different, and we have different means, and we're not in that place. And we also don't have such a connection to God to know what He wants and to just rely on it that He would stop us in such a way if it was wrong. So it's not telling us what to do today, but it is telling us not to see the other side, see why this thing can be acceptable in those days, or at least not to totally rule it out just because it doesn't fit the categories or the level of moral that we have today.